G'day, I'm back from Adepticon 2025, traveling halfway around the world for a Warhammer and a wargaming convention. So I want you to settle in if you've clicked on this video and enjoy my point of view walking experience through the halls of Adepticon while talking through what I got up to over the 4.5 days of this awesome convention. Now, this wasn't the first time I've been to Adepticon. In fact, it was my return. I previously went in 2019, but it was the first year of the new location. So previously, it was just outside of Chicago in Illinois. It's now in downtown Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And it was evident even when I was there last time that they had outgrown the venue. And when they started adding more events and more things to do, they had to take it off site. So I was super curious and really excited to see what this new venue could look like. And it absolutely exceeded my expectations. But I'll share more about this as we go through the video. But I want to rewind for a second and share about the Adepticon experience. And for those who don't know it or haven't attended or are curious how it differs from a traditional tournament, let me explain here. So Adepticon to me is a convention first. It's a convention first with a tournament attached. And I say that because there is a lot of tournaments, and I'll explain in a minute which tournaments, and there's a lot of them. But there was something like 10,000 people in attendance. And Age of Sigmar as a tournament, the GT, for example, was around 200 players. I think 40K was around 300 to 500 somewhere. That's still a lot of people who were attending that weren't playing tournaments. And there was a lot. There was obviously Games Workshop tournaments, and this is a multi-system and multi-company tournament scene. So as I mentioned, Games Workshop, they had plenty of tournaments. You had like Atomic Mass, you had independent publishers, you had so many games out there, both active and current, but also games that haven't been published for a long time. I think I saw Battlefleet Gothic being played. There was certainly a lot of Age of Sigmar and 40K. There was, Warhammer Old World. There was Marvel Crisis Protocol, to even Trench Crusades. But the convention isn't just about tournaments. And as you can see here on the video, it's filled with your favorite hobby brands like Monument Hobbies, Baron of Dice, Grey Matter Gaming, Gamers Grass, Artis Opus, Badger, just to name a few of the brands that I use frequently and also, are stocked locally. And it was great to talk to like Jason from Monument Hobbies and Stevie from Baron of Dice, and just talking to the crew and hearing about their roadmap or what they're doing or their latest innovation. But there was also heaps of brands that I'd never seen before because they're not stocked locally, or maybe I wasn't aware of what they have because they're filled, there's so many products out there in the market. Things like Games Envy, Cromlich, ones that I use a lot, but you don't get to see them very often. I have to get them imported from overseas. Squad Marks is another one. There's just so many out there that it was cool to get a new experience and see what was going on in the hobby scene. What was also really cool is you can find a heap of not only new product and, Games Workshop have a stall. There's also a bunch of secondhand miniatures that you can grab, at a very fair and decent price, even finding very like out of production models, medals and things like that, which was really, really cool. Plenty of exclusive miniatures. So obviously, I'm biased with Games Workshop, and that's the products that I'm looking for. So they had the Skaven Claw Lord, is it Ketik Throatbite, the new Skaven. It was debuting at Adepticon, so you can grab yourself an exclusive event model. 40K had their own, I think it was a Gene Stealer Cult Primus, or I'm pretty sure it was something Tyrannid or Gene Stealer like. I didn't grab it, so I don't recall, but I do remember there was a 40K thing. There was heaps of like historical miniatures. There was lots of fantasy, lots of sci-fi. If you went to the Games Workshop store, they also had other event exclusives. So previous ones like the Cities of Sigmar Steel Rook. They had the Dark Oath, is it Torgar Split Eye? They had other things like there was T-shirts like, out of production, like battle tomes and codexes on a shirt. And they had I was going to buy one. I forgot to buy it just more for lols. There was like Citadel paints and you could get like, Corvus, Abaddon black or Mephiston red shirts. Very bizarre, very fun. I should have grabbed one maybe next time, but there's heaps of stuff like this. If you got cash, there is easy ways to spend it at this event. But that's not just a bunch of tournaments and vendors. There is heaps and heaps and heaps of workshops and presentations. So I'm imagining you all are already familiar with the Games Workshop preview that happened on the Wednesday night. And they revealed Cafe, and you saw the General's Handbook, and you saw all the 40K stuff that was coming. But Games Workshop isn't the only one who does that. There are similar previews, Atomic Mass, for example. So if you're into Marvel and you want to see the latest of MCP or the Star Wars Shatterpoint, or there's heaps of other companies. I think I saw Mantic there, and there's so many miniature providers out there. There were so many things they could do, and there's a lot of formal presentations and demonstrations as well. Outside of the formal presentations, there was also a heap of hands-on workshops that you could pre-register for. Things like Vince Venturella's Better Metals and Weathering. Ninjon did Paint Hard, Paint Fast, No Mercy. I saw fur textures being taught by Zambies. And there was heaps of other tutorials, things like, painting eyes and advanced gore and blood and color theory, and one that I wish I got to attend on hindsight called How to Paint Makeup on Miniatures, because I would have loved to have put some blush and eyeshadow on my Daughters of Cain. That would be amazing, but I missed it. I'd also love to learn how to paint beards and like stubble. That would be some cool things. And that's probably one of the things that Adepticon has that I haven't really seen outside of most other tournaments, is that you can really level up your hobby in addition to playing tournaments. Another really cool thing about the convention is, given how many content creators and the type of audience that Adepticon draws to the convention, at any moment in time, you can run into a Haywo, a 2+ Tough, Stephen from Vanguard Tactics, Gav Thorpe and other writers, Mini Wargaming Dave. If you're really lucky like me, you notice All Elite Wrestling's Claudio Castagnoli, aka Cesaro for WWE wrestling fans. And they're just walking around whether it's the stalls, they're just, checking out the hobby. And what was really great is that every single one has a really good spirit. They're here to talk. They're happy to have a chat. And we're all here for the same thing, which was really, really cool experience. And, again, I don't play a lot of 40K, but getting to chat to like Scary and talk to other people that you've seen pop up on YouTube or Instagram, everyone, it's just a great experience. And, it's a wonderful celebration of the hobby. There's also this little thing that they host at Adepticon called the Golden Demon. You may or may not have heard of it. It is a wonderful experience. No, look, it's partially why, or I guess it's complementary to all of those painting tutorials and workshops, because all of those people have submitted one or more things into the Golden Demon, which is that competitive, or I guess that best of the best, painting style, and seeing how many people submit miniature or miniatures, with hundreds and thousands of hours being poured into through a labor of love. And they display those models in display cases that you get to enjoy and go check out for yourself. Now, you've probably seen the coverage on Warhammer Community. There's also, even like going back to MCP, Atomic Mass had their own, I wouldn't say version of Golden Demon, but they had a whole bunch of display cases as well, showing off their miniatures painted. So again, it's just wonderful to see people, submit wonderful, inspiring models that you're like, oh, I thought, sure. I saw, was it a Visic? One Visic had like this really cool glowing green light under its base, which was sick. There were so many wonderful models. Like I'm not going to talk about them purely because I could probably talk forever on each of the models. There was great Gitz models. There was great Empire models. That's just me being biased on the factions that I enjoy. But there was, I saw like 5 or 6 Angrons for the 40K fans in there. Again, go check the coverage on Warcom. They have much better pictures than I could ever take because they put them properly in like little glass like cabinets so we can't touch them. I think that's completely fair. But I think the point I'm trying to make here is that there is a lot that you can do beyond tournaments. But if tournaments are your jam and you're here to play, that's totally cool as well because they have singles competitions. So Age of Sigmar, for example, had singles. There was a teams tournament. There was a Young Bloods, which was inspiring that next generation of AOS players. There was Spearhead. There was an awesome narrative game. So AOS, for example, had the Gibbering Dome, as well as free tables too. And again, that's just the Age of Sigmar experience. As I mentioned, there was so many. I think there's Battletech and Battlefleet Gothic, and there was like I could just name so many games. It was just crazy how many games, like Song of Fire and Ice, and I'd just be rambling. There's a lot of games being played in those 10,000 people, and you can see why this just took up literally this massive convention spot. But look, I've given you enough of the convention. All right, so now let's actually talk about my experience and what I got up to at Adepticon for those who are interested. I landed in Wisconsin late Monday, and the event doesn't formally kick off till Wednesday. The event technically kind of kicks off Wednesday afternoon/evening, but you can start to see the vibe really starts to build on Wednesday. And I think there was even a post around lunchtime on Wednesday that some of the vendors who are open in the main halls were open for business, like the massive secondhand market that they've got there. So I guess in the time before the event, I got a chance to explore Milwaukee and got to organize my food for the week. I'm massive on meal prepping, so having my breakfast sorted, having great snacks, buying an industrial amount of water to make sure I've got plenty of water and staying hydrated through the tournament. Got to pop into the Milwaukee Art Museum, went and took a river walk and hung out with the Bronze Fonz, and just generally tried to reset after a 20-hour flight. It's like 16 hours from Sydney to Dallas. Then there's a couple of hours layover, including going through customs and immigration, and then the 3-hour flight to Milwaukee. So, and then obviously collect your bags, get to the hotel, check in, blah, blah, blah. It's a big end-to-end experience, especially for someone like me. And then, fast forward to Wednesday afternoon, collect your registration badge, and you've got to have a convention badge. You can pre-purchase merchandise, whether it's shirts or hoodies or dice or whatever it might be. You can upgrade your ticket selectively. There's a selective amount of people, not everybody, for a premium badge. Last time I got the premium badge, and they give you heaps of stuff. Like I think I got a Song of Fire and Ice like starter box, and I got I think I got a Vanguard Spearhead box back in the day. This year, amongst all the things, people got a Skaventide box, but there was also other things from other providers. But I unfortunately I didn't wake up early enough. The tickets went on sale 4 a.m. Australia time, and I think by the time at 5 a.m. when I'd woken up, they'd all sold out. So I missed out the box, but I'm sure if you look on Instagram or Twitter, you'd find what the premium badge bag was for this year. So anyway, got the badge, and then Wednesday night, really, there's no tournaments. I think there's some open play if you want to grab a table with your mates. But the highlight for Wednesday night really is the Games Workshop preview, where we saw the reveal, as I mentioned, of Cathay. We saw 40K. We saw the upcoming season of AOS. I'd be lying if I said to you that I wasn't disappointed, given we just saw a whole bunch of cool models for every other game system, and we got a book. Yes, General's Handbook is exciting, but I would have preferred to have seen Idoneth Deepkin and or some new models. So unfortunately, missed the mark on that one, at least for the AOS side. But what you may or may not realize if you've never attended an event like this is that they do a in-person reveal about an hour before it actually broadcasts online. And what you don't get to see is the additional commentary. So at the event, they had Pete Foley and Adam Troke. It's not always them. Sometimes you get other people, Eddie, and there's various people who come in and attend these events. But what's really cool, can be cool, is, and I say can, I'll share in a second, is that they often will either add additional context to the reveal, or they have a Q&A session at the end of the reveal. So they get through the formal presentation, which often goes for 60 to 90 minutes. And then they'll have more of a light-hearted chat with Games Workshop. And we all get to ask our questions. Unfortunately, it's often cringy questions like, why don't you give the rules for free? And obviously, we all want them for free, but as if Games Workshop's going to change their opinion in a preview. You used to, for a long time, get a whole bunch of questions like, when are we getting Britannia or Sisters of Battle or Squats back? So I guess we're waiting for, Chaos Dwarves now. That's probably the next thing we want to see return, but sometimes you get some really cool things. Some people push the mark with what's coming up in Age of Sigmar or 40k in 2 years' time, as if they're going to reveal this. Anyway, the cool thing as well is that we did get a random Space Wolf model, which was neat. I don't think it was a character or anything, but it's fun. Cool. Thank you. If it's free, it's for me. So preview's done, hung out, drank with some friends, did some things. And then Thursday is really when the convention kicks off. That's when the traders officially open up. And for me, it's where the tournament started. So Thursday, Friday was the singles GT. And then Saturday, Sunday was the doubles, at least for Age of Sigmar. And then, as I mentioned, the spearheads, the young bloods, the narrative was obviously filtered all through it. And to no surprise, I was there to play Age of Sigmar. So before I talk about the GT, I just want to give a massive shout out first and foremost to the AOS tournament staff. So Paul, Madigan, Tori, Bart, Mark, Dave, Isaiah, and TJ, they put on an incredibly well-run event. And I say that from the depths of my heart. It was well-run. It was scheduled. It was on time. We ran everything through BCP. They were clear on their communication either before the event and during the event. Staff was available for questions. They were active and walking the floor for rules discussions, and they generally set a good vibe. So not only was it a traditional tournament, but also it was well run. So I can see how hard this team has worked and taken feedback from previous years, and even the experience from what I got to be a part of in 2019 versus 2025. I can see there has been a massive evolution. So good work, team, for accepting the feedback of previous years and doing a great job. I went over with my Sons of Behemat, which was a 3 Mega Gargant army and 4 Man Crushers. As much as I enjoy 4 Mega Gargants and running Kragnos, or, I had to take my Man Crushers. They are the keys to success when it comes to Sons. When I would talk to my opponents, that would often be my feedback was ignore the big boys, focus on the little boys, because that's how I score battle tactics and score points. So that was always a fun experience. I was feeling relatively confident. January, I had come 6th at CanCon, which was Australia's biggest tournament. Well, biggest and largest is the same word. But I did relatively well there. I'd also done a couple of 3-0s at a bunch of RTTs, and I'd also gone 5-0 in March with a teams tournament. So I was feeling somewhat confident, somewhat concerned, given you look online and a lot of people don't give a lot of credit to the Australian meta. So I was curious to see how we would go and how it would kind of all unfold. But to give you the high levels, and again, I could probably speak forever on each of these games. Wonderful games, really enjoyed them. Game 1 was Border War against Aaron Schmidt, who was running Cruel Boys, who had 2 units of reinforced Bolt Boys, a Beast Skewer Kill Bow, 3 units of Monster Killers, and a bunch of other units. So being a monster-based army, there's a lot of damage that could be coming to me. And I won that game 50-17. So that basically there was a big castle. I had to charge it. I had to get in and clear it quickly because I was just going to be a big pincushion, and it worked in my favor. Game 2 was against Xander Bennett, another Aussie who was living locally in the States, and we were playing Feral Foray. Xander was playing Slaves to Darkness, bit of a mixture kind of list. It had Be'lakor, it had Reinforced Chosen, it had Chaos Knights, it had Chaos Warriors, it had Ogroid Theridans, and even that Mind Stealer Kitty Cat. I won that game 50-28. I think Xander, on reflection, would have pulled the trigger a little earlier on Be'lakor to Dark Master one of my Gargants. But by the time he pulled that trigger, it was maybe a little bit too late, and my army had kind of broken through and removed some of those big hitting units like the Chosen and the Chaos Knights and the Theridans. Game 3 was Jaws of Galet against Quentin Woodward, who was also playing Slaves to Darkness. So my second, back-to-back Slaves to Darkness. Although this was a spicy build with the Swords of Chaos Army of Renown, which included Abraxia and then 15 Varangard. That's correct. 15 Varangard. That's some serious double fighting goodness, very aggressive, very mobile. And through the blessings of Behemoth, I was able to pull that one out 38-18. So I'm ending day 1, not only with a couple of fireball shots thanks to Quentin, but I'm also 3-0 after a couple of great games, and praying to the gods that I do not play any more Slaves to Darkness. And that's exactly what happened. The blessings of destruction came down on me on game 4. That was close to the chest against Paul Hinderman. And Paul was playing Ossiarch Bone Reapers. Now, to my concern, it included 2 Mortek Crawlers, Special K Catacross, 2 units of Immortus Guard, Mortek Guard, and 2 units of those Death Rider murder ponies. This one was absolute to the wires. Would have loved this to be on a stream game, although you probably would have seen me pull my hair out. I did win 36-35. It all came down to, I think at the end of the game, there was 2 catapults and a couple of little things left, like nothing major on his side. There might have been like a couple of models here and there from a unit. And then on my side, all I had left was 2 Man Crushers. And turn 4, I kept the Man Crusher, one of the Man Crushers who I was relying on taking their land for turn 5 battle tactic out of threat range. So, and then as long as that Man Crusher didn't die, I'd be able to auto run with the CP to get the Man Crusher on a piece of terrain and win the game. So that was an absolute nail biter. Anything could have happened, and the 36-35 reflected that. The last game was a hilarious one. It was focal points with Dakota Tanner, who was also playing Ossiarch Bone Reapers. So the blessings of Behemoth then made me do double OBR after doing double Slaves. Although this one was a different build, no catapults, thankfully, but I did get Catacross, a reinforced unit of Morghast Archai, 2 units of reinforced Necropolis Stalkers, and all the friends that come with it. Now, this was going to be my opponent went super aggressive. It was I got double turned in the middle, and it was potentially, if I could survive and handle those Morghast Archai, I would be okay. If those Morghast Archai, they do serious damage, especially against monsters. They were the significant threat. And those like stalkers were able to pin people down and deflect wounds, and Catacross can be annoying at times. but I ended up being able to handle the Morghasts through a combination of using my Mega Gargants in partnership. I won that game 47-7. So my opponent went super aggressive, double turned me. I was able to survive it. My Gargants punched as hard into specifically the Morghasts. And then even like my War Stomper did, I think, 19 damage to Catacross in one round of combat in my opponent's turn, funnily enough, because the War Stomper's like anti-infantry and Catacross isn't a monster, he's infantry. So there was some very high rend going into Old Mate, which then ended my event going 5-0. So I went 5-0 at Adepticon. In between, there was lunch over. Obviously, there was lunch, but more importantly, the armies were being displayed up on day 2 during lunch, where you saw the best painted and coolest armies getting nominated. As I mentioned, I went 5-0. I think there was 5 of us at the end of the tournament who were undefeated. Based on feedback from previous years, there isn't a top 8. The teams tournament at Adepticon is like their pinnacle. And I think in previous years when they've run a top 8, which is usually day 3, and often conflicts with that teams tournament, many of the players don't want to abandon their team, and they would rather hang out with their team for obvious reasons. It's a 4-player teams tournament. People are very excited. Incredible display boards that get put up. So they ended it after 5 games. Anyway, I came 3rd when it came to best general, so purely off point scores, points being scored in the game. And then I came 2nd in best overall. So that was a combination of painting, sports, as well as the performance, through the 5 games. John Anderson came 1st with his Iden the Deepkin, best general. And then Ellie Sweat came 2nd when it came to best general with Beast of Chaos. So really tight field, super awesome. Again, even if I didn't go 5-0, I would say that the GT was run really well. I opted not to play in the teams tournament, mostly because I didn't want to travel halfway around the world and spend 4 days playing tournaments. I wanted to really experience and use the Saturday and Sunday to explore. I got to watch many of the teams playing at Adepticon. Again, really, really cool. It was popular both in 40K and Sigmar. I think 40K also had a teams tournament and other little random one-day things here and there. And funnily enough, I say that the teams is the pinnacle, and the teams had more players than the GT. So again, a lot of people who maybe use their Thursday, Friday to go play a different game system or to do a painting tutorial, clearly rope their friends in to play the teams tournament. So what did I do outside of the teams tournament? For those people who are curious, look, it was simple. I hung out with people. Some of those people I mentioned earlier. It was great to be able to chat and spend time with like Doug from Two Plus Tough and Haywo and Vince and Sam Lenz. And speaking of Sam Lenz, I actually did a Sam Lenz workshop. I got to do some really cool basing with him, which was super wonderful. I got to go shopping and buy a heap of stuff from, as I mentioned, Monument Hobbies had 2 new sets of Pro Acryl paint that I quickly grabbed. Dirty Downs had a new Blood and Glaw technical paint, which I definitely grabbed. I love their moss. I love their rust. I love the Dirty Downs products. I grabbed that easily, rummaged through the secondhand bins to find some more Empire models that I haven't been able to find. Grabbed a neoprene spearhead battle mat from Grey Matter Games and a bunch of other random things as well. I also got to attend a taping of All Elite Wrestling, which was literally across the road. So the Adepticon was at the Baird Center, and across the road at the Panthers is they were hosting on the Saturday night All Elite Wrestling's Collision, which is partially why I saw Claudio Castagnoli. He is a Warhammer fan for those who don't know. I think Claudio is more of a reader of Black Library than actually playing. Just obviously, as you can imagine, as a sports star. He's traveling a lot. I'm sure he doesn't have a lot of time to be assembling and painting models, but I know he's definitely a big fan. If you look at his jacket, actually, he's got a bunch of those what do they call them? The little tags that hang off with the script writing on. Absolute mind blank. But anyway, I had pre-purchased ringside seats. I didn't get them for free, and that's how I spent my Saturday night, which is really, really cool. And I absolutely had a ball. Got to see AEW at Grand Slam. Got to see them again literally the next month in Collision, and I'll go see them again and again and again. If you like sports like me, there was also the NBA in town. There was a few of the Milwaukee Bucks games happening around that week. The NBL, the baseball, also was happening, I believe, on the same night as All Elite Wrestling. The Brewers were having their opening of the stadium, or their opening match of the season. So didn't get to see that one due to the clash. But I thoroughly enjoyed my NBA experience as well when I was in Atlanta. So got to go to the basketball during the World Championships. It's very, very cool. And often even last minute, you can get some very cheap seats as well. Even if you just want to experience it, but you're not a massive fan, just to go out there and see what it's all about. Each of the nights, there was always something going on after the event. So whether it's food or drink, hanging out, there's a really cool place about 2 blocks away called 3rd Street Market, which is like this sweet industrial style building that has like plenty of places to eat, kind of like a food court, but it's more like a permanent food truck location. So really, really cool. There's like heaps of random food. There was arcades and games you can play with your friends, a beer wall where you pour your own beers out, and just self-serve. Obviously, you have to pay, and there's a process to that, but it's not free. But I could just grow and sample some of the best of the beer, I guess, locally. I clearly took advantage of as much authentic Mexican food as I could, because there's not a lot of Mexicans in Australia, and I'm pretty sure I had tacos at least 3 times, including this really cool. It's like a fried avocado, like obviously like al pastor, and there was really, really nice tacos and churros, and it was various things. But yeah, I'll take advantage of all the Mexican food as much as possible when I'm in America. There's also, speaking of food, like random, like Wisconsin is known for their fried cheese curds, their cream puffs. There was other foods that Milwaukee is known for, except I didn't get to try the butter burger. I hear it's like a beef patty, I think, with butter in the middle, and it's super drippy, super fatty. Didn't get to try it. I'll keep an eye out for it the next time. I did get to try the Spotted Cow beer, which I believe is local, and I'm told is illegal to buy it outside. You can take it outside, but you just can't buy it. It's not sold anywhere outside of Wisconsin. Really nice beer. I got forced to drink a Pabst Blue Ribbon, which was less awesome. It's fine. It's fine. I just keep thinking of the South Park episode around Pabst Blue Ribbon, but I tried it. I did the local thing. Yay me. What else did I get up to? I spent some of the nights, like for example, one of the nights there was like an influencer meeting and hanging out, a bunch of people. Again, some of these names that I mentioned earlier, Mini Wargaming Dave. There was, there's heaps of people. I don't have to name drop. There was heaps of them. It was just like a casual thing happening. And it was really cool to just to hang out. My last night was hanging out with the Warhammer TV stream. So as you know, I was on the stream as a commentator at the World Championship. So built up a bit of rapport with those guys. Awesome crew, really, really cool crew. And we went out to like a spy bar, which was themed like your favorite 1960s spy movie. And there was like, to get in, you had to have like a password, or they made you do like a challenge to get in. There's like false doors and like these super random themed activities around spies, and that's super fun. I won't ruin it for you, but it was actually quite fun. And then I went to like some prohibition bar at the end. So there's heaps of history and heaps of cool things to do outside of the convention. which I really appreciated, considering when you look at the last venue, which was Illinois was in like an industrial park. So you were about 30 to 40-minute drive out of Chicago. So once you're at the convention, you're really at the convention. You can't do much outside of the convention. I think it was like a Five Guys across the road and a couple of other things, but you're kind of stuck. There's just so much to do now at this new location. And I'm sure there was heaps of things that I completely missed. And I'm sure that there's lots of other things that I could have shared with you. And I'm happy to share with you. If you want to come into my Discord and ask questions, I'm more than happy to share what I experienced. I guess the burning question that you might have at the end of this video is, would I go back? And the absolute answer would be yes. I would both recommend attending Adepticon if you want to play tournaments, you want to experience the hobby, you're interested in workshops, you're interested in, multi-systems, or even if you're just into Age of Sigmar or 40K or one system, there's enough for you in that system, that ecosystem, that will keep you interested and doing things over the 4 days of Adepticon. Obviously, as I mentioned, it was a large flight for me, probably end to end. When you start the journey at my house and then finally unpack my stuff at the hotel, is probably 20 to 24 hours in duration. So it's a big trip, but it's a very cool immersive experience. And probably one thing I didn't mention yet is that the Milwaukee made you feel really welcome. You got to the airport and there was a banner that was, highlighting Adepticon and saying, welcome Adepticon. You go around the stores and I mentioned that 3rd Street Market, that place that has the eatery, they had a big banner that said, welcome Adepticon, which was crazy because it's a couple of blocks away and I assume had no affiliation. On the first night, I went to a barbecue restaurant, and the barbecue people asked why we were here, clearly having an Australian accent. And I mentioned Adepticon. They were like, oh, it's so cool to have you here. And like, you could genuinely see the impacts of this convention to the community and what it would bring. So that was really, really appreciated. I didn't actually mention it, but upon reflection, you felt very welcomed, and the community outside of the convention as a whole was just super happy to have you. And you could see they stayed out late and they worked hard for us. It is a full hobby experience. As I mentioned, you could go to any major tournament and play tournament play. That's cool. Adepticon has that. But the real reason you go, and I mentioned it right at the start of the video, is that this is a convention first and a tournament second. And this is where it really shines. And I haven't seen a convention similar. I think maybe Nova might be close, but I don't think definitely to the scale of Adepticon, where it's that real celebration of the hobby with workshops, seminars, tutorials, vendors, all the personalities from within the hobby, again, your favorite YouTubers, TikTokers, Instagram painters, whatever it is. There's so many people here with just a great vibe that is around miniature wargaming. And as I mentioned, if you got specific questions, I'm more than happy to answer about Adepticon in Discord. Link is down below. Definitely thinking and planning out my next trip. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope that you have gained either at least some curiosity and answered some questions around maybe the next Adepticon. I'm sure they've learned from the first experience and they're thinking about how they can better it again, which is scary because it was a really good event. Or if nothing more, you might have got some inspiration for your next event or your next convention if you're looking at, what best practice might look like. And this is definitely up there. So again, thank you to Adepticon. Thank you to the Age of Sigmar tournament staff who put on a great event. And thanks for everyone who popped over to say hello. It was really cool to meet so many people from the Midwest. It's been such a long time, but it was an awesome experience to come back. All right. I hope you enjoyed it. And again, happy to answer anything in Discord. See you guys. Thanks for hanging around until the end. I hope you enjoyed that video and you walked away with a few new ideas. Now, if you did, I would love it if you pressed like on the video, as well as left me a comment with your thoughts. The conversation will continue over on Discord, and the link is down below in the episode description. I also want to give a massive shout out to the AOS Coach patrons and YouTube members who are supporting the channel and the growth that you're seeing here. So cheers, you are all bloody legends. And until next time, don't roll a double one on a spellcast.